everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, a Monday after the night before. I mean, we all know what happened last night. It was going to go down in history in one of Manchester United's worst ever performances and worst ever losses. And it's so sad that it's coming a season where everyone's so hopeful again and everyone is actually loving Manchester United and loving these players again. But I think yesterday was kind of a harsh reality where we're still at, that there is this type of performance still in some of these players at Manchester United, and in reality we completely fell apart. And we're not going to beat around the bush. We got beat 7-0 by Liverpool at Anfield. It is disgraceful. If you've watched my match vlog, I spoke about it. I said, for me, the fact that the players gave up, I don't care how many games we're playing every week, we're at Anfield, you've got to give something, you've got to give some sort of bite, and we just completely didn't do that. And Erik ten Hag has been speaking about it, players have been speaking about it, they're already in Carrington right now. Would I love to be a fly on the wall in Carrington just to see what Erik ten Hag is saying or doing to these players right now? He looked absolutely fuming. But get your comments in down below. It's going to be a very interactive show. We're going to go through what Erik ten Hag said, what the plans are going forward, some quotes coming out from players, and Luckhurst has actually just reported on what is going to be happening this morning with the players as well at Carrington. They're already there right now and they're probably getting the hairdryer treatment and some completely from Erik ten Hag. I don't doubt that whatsoever. But it's going to be a very, very good show. So get yourself settled in and get your comments in down below. And let's get started on what Erik ten Hag had to say last night, straight after the game. And honestly, the fact that this guy had to come out and speak about it, you have to, you're Man United manager, no matter what loss it is. But, I mean, it was hard enough for us fans speaking on the forum last night, going out to the media and speaking about a team that you're probably absolutely fuming with. The fact he didn't fly completely off the handle, I think, is respect to him, because, I mean, I would have absolutely lost my head. But he's still said some cutting words, definitely. And morning, everyone in the chat. Ray S saying, take the armband off Bruno. His attitude was a disgrace. Well, we're going to get into a lot of stuff on Bruno as well. But Erik ten Hag started off saying, you can't lose a game. I just said in the dressing room, but you can lose a game. Start off right. You can lose a game. I just said that in the dressing room, but not in the way that we lost in the second half. 6 goals in the second half. Let just that sink in. 6 goals. I don't know how the average is out, but 6 goals in 45 minutes. That is not due to fatigue. I'm sorry, it's not. That is due to completely giving up. It's ridiculous. He said the first half, I think we played very decent. I don't think it's weird that we were not up at half-time because we created better chances. Exactly. I said it ourselves, I do think we created better chances in that first half. I thought we played the first half of the game out really, really well. We took the sting out of the game. We got the crowd off our backs. We kept Liverpool at bay. And then we stupidly let that goal in going into half-time. And that's a setback. It's a setback. You don't crumble away from that. Even at 2-0 up in the second half, the timing of the goal is awful. It's awful, but you still can manage to get a draw out of it with the mentality of these players. You've got to be able to think you can still come back and even win that game. That's what these players should be thinking in their heads, and we thought that we had that. The way we came back against Barcelona, the way we've come back previous times this season, but you've got to remember this has been at home. At home, away, we do seem to crumble under different crowds, and especially at Anfield, we massively did. Jacob Shaw says, why did we play like that when we were so good? I've been scratching my head and asking myself that ever since the game yesterday. I thought, how? Why? How? Why? That isn't down to tactics. 7-0 is not down to tactics. 2-1's down to tactics, potentially. 1-0, 3-0 even, you could put it down to. But 7-0 is just, it's due to unprofessionalism. It really, really is. And that's basically what Erik ten Hag says. He said the second half is unprofessional. It can't happen and we've got to talk about it. I mean, I think talk's a light word for what Erik ten Hag is going to be doing. And he also said it's not just about 1 or 2 players, it was about the whole team. I saw 11 individuals losing their heads and not sticking with the plan. Unprofessional, that is not Manchester United. We have standards and standards that we want to show. And then he got asked if it's his lowest day as Manchester United manager, and I like this answer. He said, every defeat, it doesn't matter what is worse, especially when you lose to Liverpool. So Erik ten Hag, again, is saying, no matter when he loses, it is a bad day as a Manchester United manager. He does not want to lose, and losing in this manner, it would have really, 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 really hurt him. It would have really hurt him, and it should be hurting the whole team right now, and they should really be having a harsh reality check on themselves, because maybe complacency creeps in. I don't know. you can crumble in that fashion. But I mean, get in the comments down below what you guys think. I mean, it's Erik ten Hag said himself, we let the fans down. That's what got me most annoyed. And yeah, that whole team. And this morning, I'd be bringing them players in, as Adam said on the forum last night. I'd be getting them to watch back the game. I'd be getting them to watch back highlighted clips of them not going into tackles, of them being seconds at every single ball, of them pulling out of tackles, of them not chasing back like certain players did. My favourite player, Bruno Fernandes, went into a tackle and then didn't chase back. That's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I don't care if you're 5-0 down. I don't care if you're 10-0 down. You still try. You still try. That is completely unacceptable. So I'd be highlighting them clips. I'd be highlighting clips of the pundits going in on them. Keane, Neville. I don't agree necessarily with what Neville was saying at all from what I've heard, but I'd be getting highlighted clips of that and saying this is what these people think of you, by the way. People that have played at Manchester United at the highest level and knows what it takes, should do on the football pitch. I'd be showing them what fans think, how fans have reacted from this across the world. I'd be showing them that, and I'd be saying this is what your performance has caused, and this is what happens when you don't play for the badge at Manchester United. Don't get me wrong, these players have been brilliant all season. I felt like we'd come back from this cycle of crumbling it near enough every big opportunity. I thought we'd come back from that cycle, and I'm so proud of the players we've brought in. I'm proud of what Erik ten Hag has done this season. I'm proud of the way that we played against Barcelona. I'm proud of the way we went to Wembley and put in a professional performance and lifted that trophy after 6 years. I'm so proud of that. But then to lose your heads and completely give up at one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game, when you think about rivalry, it's just, it's so frustrating. And it just shows we haven't moved past that part where this team can revert back to type. It really can. And we're not quite there yet. I thought we were. We're not quite there yet. And I think it definitely does show that. I'm still fuming. I'm getting really annoyed thinking about it. I'm still fuming. And Augustine Mark Rower says, how do we move on from this? It really hurts a lot. Well, that's the thing. We've got to move on. As sad as it sounds, we've got to move on. And the way I would put it is, we can't let this game define our season. It is done now. As I always say, what is done is done. It cannot be undone. So we can't go back and change that score of 7-0. We can't go back and replay that game. We just can't do it. What Erik ten Hag's got to do, he's got to show these players the clips back. He's got to tell them where they went wrong. They've got to show them where they lost their heads to the Anfield atmosphere. They've got to show them what never to ever to do again while playing in a Manchester United shirt. And he's got to say to them, look, we have Betis on Thursday. It's the Europa League. It's the Europa League. That's a trophy that we have a lot of favour of winning. When you look in the grand scheme of things, I'd probably say Arsenal are our biggest competition in that. We've got a very big chance to get to another final. We've got to go there and destroy Betis and prove that this is just a blip. You've then got to go again on Sunday, the FA Cup, Fulham. You have another chance to be at Wembley if you get through that game. Another cup competition that we're definitely in favour of winning. I think Manchester City are our biggest competitors of that. I mean, you can't let this define our season. Liverpool are out of the FA Cup. They were out of the Carabao Cup. They're going to go out of the Champions League to Real Madrid. They're probably not going to win a trophy this season. They're not going to win a trophy this season. I can put it out there. They're not going to win a trophy this season. What you've got to do now is go and show the world, we're going to go and win these other 2 trophies. We're going to win 3 trophies this season. Liverpool have won none. We're going to still get top 4, and we're going to keep on winning every single game. I'm going to stay ahead of Liverpool. We're still 7 points ahead of them. And we're going to make sure that 7-0 doesn't mean anything apart from it will be used as banter for the years and years to come. We've just got to not let it define our season. We've got to kind of use it as a kickstarter to remember where we're at and how hungry this team should be to prove to the fans that, no, we are that team that can go and win these 3 trophies this season. We are that team that is going to bring Manchester United back. They've got to go out there and prove that again, in my opinion, because that defeat is just, it's mind-blowing, honestly, it's mind-blowing. But there is, Luckhurst was reporting this morning, and I do want to bring that up because, I mean, Carrington is going to be a hostile place this morning, I can assure you that. But again, Erik ten Hag is with the players, and he's going to have to say, we have to go again on this, and we've all got to come together and work out where it went wrong. And Erik ten Hag is going to be annoyed, don't get me wrong about that, but we've got to push through and move through it and move on to the next game at the end of the day. And Lucas said, all of the MUFC players reported to training by 9 a.m. this morning. Erik ten Hag has reportedly been at Carrington for nearly 2 hours time before the players arrived. So Ten Hag got in there at about 7 a.m. this morning. I bet he couldn't sleep last night. I was tossing and turning, if I'm being honest with you. Never mind him. He's obviously been there 2 hours prior preparing for what he's going to say, what plan he's going to do with these players. And for Erik ten Hag, I really, really respect that. It had to be done. It really had to be done. You do expect that as Man United manager, but still. And he also says that MUFC sources say that the players were always scheduled to report for 9 a.m. for recovery sessions and a morning training session. It'll be different. It'll be different this time, in my opinion. It will be different. I think, yeah, recovery is probably going to be still on a Sunday. It's going to be on. But I think there's going to be recovery, and then there's going to be a long meeting talking about where this went wrong, and the game's going to be played back. And Luke Shaw was talking about that last night, and we'll definitely get into that as well. But I mean, we'll have to see how they bounce back. We'll see on Thursday night how they bounce back. But that's what we have to do now. People talking about how many miles are they going to run this time? Realistically, none, because as Adam said on the forum last night, these players are absolutely knackered. You can see that. So it's going to be the hairdryer treatment, and it's going to be showing them that result back, and that's going to be painful. There's going to be something that Erik ten Hag is going to do to really get into these players, but it can't involve physicality this time, because at the end of the day, we are playing 3 games a week, and we're tired. And Bonza says, I need to recover emotionally. I mean, that's how a lot of people are feeling this morning. Just Kevin says, bounce back FC. And Drew Ellis, big up to Varane for telling the players to thank the fans. Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact Varane had to do that for me it puts me in an uneasy place. The fact that Varane had to tell the players to go over and clap. That should be your thought process instantly. You should be so sorry for what you've just put the fans through. You should be going over there straight away. For the fans that are left and still supporting, you should be going over and clapping. But, I mean, nothing surprises me. It surprises me this season. It surprises me this season because I thought we'd moved past all of this. The players and the fans were together, it feels like. And I said last night, we've got to be with this team throughout losses, throughout wins. We've got to be there for the bad days. We've got to be there for the good days. But go and clap the fans. Go and clap the fans after the worst defeat all season, and the worst defeat at Anfield since I can remember. Honestly, since I can remember, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It really is. Anyway, we move on to fatigue, which was what I was saying about Erik ten Hag as well. And he talked about fatigue, and he talked about these players suffering with fatigue. And this is what frustrated me last night. A lot of people putting it down to the fact that these players are tired. That's why we lost 7-0, because the players are tired and the body just can't function anymore. We're tired 100%. We're playing too many games 100%, but that's the price you pay for playing at the top level and being in 4 different competitions and winning trophies. These are top level professional athletes. I have sympathy for the fact that it is tough no matter what, playing that many times a week, but that's not the reason we lost 7-0 in this game. Ten Hag said on this, it's nothing to do with that, nothing to do with fatigue, because we can bring the performances 4 days ago, 7 days ago. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's just about keeping your head. So Erik ten Hag agrees that it wasn't anything to do with fatigue, and I have to agree with that as well. You cannot blame 7-0 at Anfield on fatigue. And he says, we are not bringing the right decisions, the defence actions in the transitions, and that is unprofessional. We have to have higher standards in this, and what we showed today in the second half. And exactly, he talks about that, and he talks about having standards. But at the end of the day, these players didn't show up to the standards. And I think that really does it hurts. It really does hurt, if I'm being honest with you. But I mean, Iceblock said Casemiro should be captain. Bruno doesn't have the mentality. I mean, we'll talk about that for a second before I go on to a few more of the quotes, because there's quotes from Varane, there's quotes from Luke Shaw, there's quotes from many different people coming out. But we are going to put a poll up now, and Bruno, I have to say, is captained the side very well this season. He's one of my favourite players at Manchester United. He really is. Yesterday, he lost the plot. He completely lost the plot, and that showing was unacceptable. We're going to put a poll up. Should Bruno Fernandes be Manchester United captain next season? Because let's be honest on this. It's not going to be Maguire who's going to leave. And it shouldn't be Maguire anyway. It should be a change. So we've got a poll down below. Who should be Manchester United captain next season? Should it be Bruno Fernandes? Should it be Varane, Casemiro? Or we've also got De Gea in the mix as well. So make sure you vote in the poll. I'm going to vote my own vote now and see what people are saying. I mean, 42% already with Casemiro on this one. To be honest with you, my thoughts on this, and not a lot of people are going to like it. They're really not going to like it, I don't think, because I've seen so many people going in on Bruno Fernandes. That performance yesterday from every single player on that pitch was inexcusable. It was unacceptable. Bruno Fernandes' performance was completely unacceptable. It was. It was. I don't know if there's any truth in the fact he got asked to be subbed. That was Gary Neville on commentary. Only he could see that. Maybe you got the wrong impression. I think it would be very unlike Bruno to ask to be substituted off the pitch. If he did, then that is a complete joke. A complete joke, and I cannot stand by that. It really is a complete joke. A Manchester United captain asking him to be subbed off. If it is true, I don't know if it's true. But one thing I will say is Bruno Fernandes has played every single minute possible for this team all season. He's ran through brick walls. He's played more than De Gea. He's always, I think, the first name on the team sheet for Erik ten Hag. He's captained the side to some amazing victories this season. And I think he's been a very brilliant player this season, I have to say. I think yesterday what happened, I think Bruno cares so much, because I think he does. I really think he does. I think he just completely lost his head, and he was unprofessional. The crowd got on his back. He lost his head. He got frustrated. And I think he would be the first one to come out and say, yeah, my performance was inexcusable. The attitude I had towards the end was inexcusable, but I just completely lost it. That's not an excuse. It's really not an excuse. But I think he just completely lost it, the fact that we were losing 6, 7, 5 nearly at Anfield, and he couldn't really do anything about it. I feel that's what happened. And I still love Bruno Fernandes as a player. I think he's someone that is there through thick and thin for Manchester United. I think he always stands up and is accounted for. And we've got some quotes coming in from him, actually, that we'll get into. But I would still want Bruno Fernandes to be captain this next season. Gary Neville on commentary talking about him moaning, whinging, waving his hands in the air. Bruno's petulance can be frustrating at times. It really can. But at the end of the day, he's very good to have someone on the pitch that's going to be in the referee's head. When he says about waving arms around at players, he's directing players, he's telling them straight. What did Roy Keane used to do on a football pitch? He used to tell the players straight. He used to tell them if they were playing poorly. He used to tell them if they needed to make different decisions. I want a player that's going to stand on the pitch and be accounted for and tell other people when they need to be accounted for as well. I want a captain that's going to be vocal. I really, really do. Do I think Casemiro could be a brilliant captain? Absolutely. The way he directs and leads is brilliant. I think Varane as well is another one. He leads by example. He really does, and he's accounted for as well. There's players on that pitch that are captain material, but I don't think we should let one performance say that a player shouldn't be captain for Manchester United. I think Bruno's proved many times this season that he is captain material. Plus, as well, he speaks multiple languages, which always comes into the equation. I know Casemiro's learning English, and I know Varane can speak English too, but Bruno Fernandes speaks Italian, Spanish, Portuguese. He also speaks, he speaks English perfectly well, so he can communicate with everybody on the pitch, and he's in the middle of the park, so he can kind of, talk to everybody. I would still go with Bruno Fernandes, but I do think his performance yesterday was inexcusable, and I'm not making excuses for that. I'm really not. It was everyone's performance was a disgrace, and his attitude was not right yesterday. And let's see what people are saying. 43% Casemiro, 25% Varane, and Bruno Fernandes is at 24%. So Casemiro seems to be the leading kind of vote on that. And yeah, a lot of people saying if only Casemiro could speak English. I think if Casemiro could speak English, he would be captain. He's always the one that's going over Ten Hag, getting the instructions. Ten Hag speaks glowingly about him all of the time. But then again, Casemiro, he didn't lose his head yesterday, but he didn't play well. He had a really off game. Everyone on that pitch did. But doesn't that speak volumes when your best player has an off game, suddenly you crumble? It's just frustrating, it honestly is. And Jack Holloway says, nobody come for Bruno. That man is the only player that you can't see a vast difference on effort level given since the Ten Hag era. The man has been giving all for the shirt, even when we were crap. Yeah, he is completely right. That's my opinion. He gives everything, I think, every single game. Yesterday was a really, really, really poor showing. But I think Gary Neville went too much on commentary on him. I really think he singled him out for slandering your own player on national TV. Doesn't sit right with me. It really doesn't. It was inexcusable, but he lost his head the same way every single other player did on that pitch. It means more because he's captain, it really does. But he's captained us to some great wins this season, and he gives everything every time he plays for us. He leads by example, absolutely. And somebody said, how many languages does Maguire speak? I'd rather have Martinez as captain instead of Varane or Casemiro. Interesting to know why you'd think that. I think Martinez is definitely a future captain, but obviously he's still young, only 24. You can tell Varane is that leader at the back. Martinez is a leader too. But, I mean, we've got many leaders in our team. Erik ten Hag has added them. That's why I can't get my head around the fact we managed to crumble that much yesterday. How with Casemiro, Martinez, Bruno, Shaw even has turned into such a good leader this season. How with all them players on the pitch do you still, Varane, De Gea, do you still crumble? I can't get my head around it. And I just want to say as well, before I get into some more quotes, I'm kind of going a bit rogue here. I was thinking about it. I was honestly thinking about it. Even if yesterday we'd played Malacia, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who obviously is still a first-team player in my opinion. So you played Malacia, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, McTominay, Fred, Bruno, Sancho, Pellistri, Elanga. Even if we fielded that team out yesterday, I wouldn't expect us to lose 7-0. I'd still expect us to put in a performance, at least a performance. I wouldn't expect us to win by any stretch of the imagination. But against that Liverpool side, even with our B team, I would have expected a performance. I would have expected professionalism. That was our starting 11 that's been winning. That's our strongest starting 11 this season that we played yesterday. And we lost 7-0. We lost 7-0. So it wasn't about tired legs. It wasn't about tactics. It was about unprofessionalism and completely crumbling and giving up. It really was. That's as simple as it is. That's as simple as it is. Honestly, you can see in Carabao Cup games, you could have brought in a League One team or a Championship side and they wouldn't have lost 7-0. They wouldn't have lost 7-0. I'm being serious. So it's just, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. Robert McCormack says it's easy to be a good captain when you're winning. Roberts, the reason we were winning is because we had leaders all over the pitch, the tactics were good, and we also had a great captain the side. It all contributes. That's the reason why we were winning, because we had a captain that was leading us to these victories. And this is funny, people turn on Erik ten Hag already. Erik ten Hag can't win big games away. Our away from home against the Big Six is poor this season, it really is. Erik ten Hag said that when you take our home form into the away games, but come on, it's his first season, we're third in the league. We've had some brilliant results. Let's just not. Erik ten Hag is not the reason we lost 7-0 yesterday. I'm not having that. Absolutely not. I'm just not. Anyway, let's get into some quotes from some players as well, because I actually said, and this is why reality really does hit you sometimes. I said on a previous show, I can't remember the last time Luke Shaw didn't have at least an 8 out of 10 performance in a Man United shirt. He's been brilliant all season. After that Brentford game where he was horrendous, he's really come back and he's been excellent. He's been outstanding. Yesterday, he drops a horrible performance, an absolutely horrible performance, showing Salah into his box, not clearing his lines, out of position, stray passes, just stuff that you wouldn't believe that Luke Shaw would be doing after the performances he's been putting in recently. I'm not singling out, he's not the only one. He wasn't good. He was awful. I would actually go to everyone was awful. He was awful. So the fact that he went from that to that, like there's players that you wouldn't expect to drop down that low, and they do. And anyway, he's been speaking about it, and to be honest, I agree with a lot of what he was saying. He says, I think we'll bounce back positively on Thursday night against Real Betis. I'm sure of that. I mean, we've got to go and put the game to Real Betis and win that game comfortably. It's going to be interesting because we either go out and we completely blow Betis away and we show that it was just a blip and we keep on moving forward, or we go out and we struggle and I don't even want to think about it. But I'm hoping it's going to be the first one. He also said, coming into this game, we spoke about how much it means to them and how much it means to us. I can only apologise on behalf of myself and the team for the way we performed in that second half and the mistakes that were made. Again, we don't want to put this because it's a blip. I take the apologies I take the apologies because it's a blip. I'm trying to say it is a blip. But I do not... Do you know what it is? You know when you have, like, PTSD and, like, you go back to that place. Yesterday, for me, was PTSD because I thought, I just don't want to turn into Paragraph FC, Apologise FC. We need to do better. We need to go again. It's been a brilliant season where I genuinely think we have turned things around. I really, really do. And I don't think we are going to go back to that. But games like this, it makes you revert back to the days when we were getting slapped up 4-0 at Anfield. We're getting beat 4-0 at Brentford. We're getting beat 6-3 at City. We're getting beat 6-1 off Spurs. We're getting beat 4-1 off Watford. Like, we've had some terrible results in the past. We really have, especially recently in the past. And it makes you go back to that place with, please don't let this start to happen again, because we've been enjoying this season so much and so much has changed. Just that slight little feeling creeps into the back of your head like, we can't go through this again. I don't think it will. Erik ten Hag won't allow it. I still believe in this manager massively. My belief didn't drop for a second, no matter when the goals went in yesterday. In Erik ten Hag, my belief didn't drop. My opinion of the players dropped. It really did. It did. It had to. But my belief in Erik ten Hag still hasn't dropped. But I just don't want to turn into Apologise FC again. I just don't. I really don't. Just get on with it. Prove to us on the pitch that this was a blip. And he says, again, the performance was a disgrace. I was on the pitch and I felt that. I felt embarrassed for the fans that were in the stands and to be witnessing that. Luke Shaw, you're speaking the same language as all of us. And at least he's coming out and at least he's going speaking and holding accountability, is all I can say, because he must be embarrassed. He must be. And one thing I can say about Luke Shaw is he always does come out and take accountability. He really does. He stands up when we win, whether we lose. He stands up and takes accountability. And you can really see that in Luke Shaw this season. Everyone can have a really bad game. Luke Shaw had that, but he's one player this season that's been really consistently good, and he's consistently spoke whether we win, lose, draw. He's always there to hold accountability. And he says, starting now, we need to make amends, starting with the game on Thursday. Hopefully, they will be there to support us and we'll give everything in that game. The fans will be there. The fans are there no matter what. There were still fans in the ground after getting beat 7-0 by Anfield. The fans are with you whether we lose, whether we draw, whether we win. We're going to have opinions on it. We're going to be hurt. We're going to feel like embarrassed, but we're still going to be there. And at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about on the forum yesterday. If we're going to be celebrating at Wembley when these players lift a trophy, when we're going to be celebrating when we beat City 2-1 in the derby at home, if we're going to be celebrating when we beat Barcelona at the home ground, we come back from going down and we beat them, one of the best teams in Europe to go through and carry on in this Europa League. If we're going to be there when we potentially go to Wembley in the FA Cup, we're going to be celebrating that. We have to be there in the bad times as well. And the fans will be, because these fans are really, really loyal and they will be there. But Luke Shaw again, he gets it. In my opinion, he does get it. He does get it. Then we move on to, actually we'll get some comments in before we move into what Bruno says. I actually want to have a look at that captaincy poll and see how it's going. Just over 4,500 votes, so get your votes in on that. And Casemiro's leading the way with 42%. Varane and Bruno equally on 25. So people haven't give up faith on Bruno just after one game. That's what I like to see. One game shouldn't make you completely lose all faith in anyone or any players. So, just kind of keep your heads, keep a rational head on, and I still think Bruno should be captain. As you can see on the screen, players arriving for training this morning. I bet they're absolutely, after what happened at Brentford, I bet they're thinking to themselves, I don't want to be here this morning. Or they'll be thinking, we've got to take that punishment on and we deserve it. We deserve it. They'll want to see where they went wrong. The mood is going to be low. It's going to be very different to this time last week when we just won a Carabao Cup, I'll tell you that. It's crazy how much football can change in a week. It really is. It's crazy the way football is. And plastic fans going in on Bruno, stupid guys, it's only one game. People use these games sometimes to bring their agendas out the woodworks. They really do, and that's what happens. There is some people that really don't like Bruno, and everyone's allowed an opinion, but one game shouldn't take away everything he's done for Manchester United, which is a lot. And Paddy Zar says, Beth, we played the wrong formation. Rashford should be on the left, Weghorst as a forward, Bruno as a number 9, and Anthony on the right. I think you mean Bruno as a number 10 and Anthony on the right. Yeah, I agree. We set up wrong. We talked about that in the forum. Don't want to go through it again. We set up wrong. That isn't why we lost 7-0 though. It isn't why we lost 7-0. And the reason why I talk about fine margins as well, Bruno with that header, that goes in, everyone's talking about how good Bruno is. That header, remember, that just skimmed wide. These are fine margins in football. And it's on the team for letting it slip and not believing that they come back and win this game. It's completely on the team for that. But there is fine margins, and people need to kind of look at the whole season, not just one game. And Sully B. Jr. says, it is a big blip, but I believe in the lads. Let's go and win more trophies. I feel like that's the attitude we've got to have. We can be disgraced by it. We can criticise. We can feel let down. But we've got to get behind the team, because this doesn't define the season. It really doesn't. You can let it. You can let it define the season. You can get hung up on it. And you can kind of ruin future games because of that. Or you can get behind the team, and we have to go again. As cliche as that sounds, we have to. That's why Erik ten Hag made substitutions. He made sure players weren't going to get a red card. The last thing you want is for future games to be kind of destroyed because of this one fixture. You've got to leave it in the past now and make sure it never, ever happens again. I feel like we're on repeat, though. How many huge losses have we had in the last few years? It is... You've got to look at these players, you really do, and think about the mentality there. I thought it had changed, but, I mean, clearly not fully. International says, Erik ten Hag was naive, time to be objective and not be biased. I mean, 7-0 is not due down to tactics, but realistically, going to Anfield, we should have packed the midfield more. Wan-Bissaka should have played instead of Dalot. Bruno should never have been playing on the left. And there is certain decisions I think Erik ten Hag will look at and think we can do differently next time. It's like when we got beat 6-3 off City. I think we went to the Etihad way too naive, playing Eriksen in midfield along with Bruno. Like, that was too naive going to the Etihad. He learnt his lesson, and we still set up with that midfield, but we had Casemiro in there, which made a huge difference, obviously. Casemiro came on at half-time, I think, in the City game. We still set up like that at home, but the shape was much different. We sat back, we soaked up pressure, and we hit them on the counter-attack, and we played a much more nuanced, structured, tight game at home. Erik ten Hag did learn from that, he really did, and I think he'll learn from this as well. 7-0 is not an Erik ten Hag, it's really not. But could we have been better tactically from the start? Yes, I think we could have, and there's no issue in saying that. I do think the wrong decisions were made. I do think we should have set up differently. But at the same time, things happen. Things happen sometimes, and it is fine margins. It is fine margins, and the fact they completely crumbled is just frustrating. It's frustrating to say the least. And International says exactly, derby game, you play away, you want to avoid that result. Yeah, I mean, it's all about a learning process. Erik ten Hag's still in his first season, but I still don't put this down to him. I just don't at all. I really don't. The loss could have been put down to tactical decisions. If we lost the game, say if it ended at 1-0, God, I hope it ended. I wish it ended at half time. Whether it ended at 2 or 3, 7 is a complete capitulation of all the players and the mentality. I tweeted out last night, mentality made of glass, and I thought we'd overcome this. But how many big results have we had like this go against us in the last couple of years? You've got to look at the players and you've got to think, what is it that makes you completely capitulate like this? There's got to be something there. We've got to really kind of get into it as well. Really get into it. But anyway, let's get some quotes in from Bruno Fernandes, the captain of yesterday, that got a lot of stick, and rightly so in some occasions, but I also think too harshly in others, and people going too far on certain things. Bruno, on today's game, it was very frustrating, disappointing, sad, because it is a really, really bad result. We came here with a different mindset before the game. The first half was really good from ourselves. We had a lot of chances. We controlled the first half mostly, I think. They didn't create that much. Then the second half, we tried to go forward and score goals, and we lost a bit of balance. We gave too much space away for them. Too much space away against that kind of team. We have to try and avoid that. I mean, he's right about the first half. I thought we played that half. Up until 40 minutes, we played it out well. Then we crumbled. Second half, we crumbled. It wasn't about giving too much space away. We crumbled. We really did. I mean, we're still trying to go and score goals. What was it, 5-0 down? just take the loss and show up shop. Be professional. Be professional. It's naivety. It's poor. Bruno says, the games are coming thick and fast. We had setbacks in the past and we have to come back again quickly. This is what Manchester United are about. We can go down, but we have to get back up. Exactly. You can't let this defeat last longer than it already has. You really can't. You've got to focus on the next game and you've got to go again. You really do. And I agree with the players on that. You really do. You have to look at where it went wrong, but you can't let this defeat kind of eat up for the rest of the week, whereas you're going to affect the Betis game, you're going to affect the Fulham game, and you just don't want to do that. So, yeah, Bruno then, I think, speaking as a captain, didn't put in a captain's performance yesterday, but again, nobody showed up. Nobody showed up at all. Roy Keane's been talking, and I don't know if anyone was watching the commentary last night. I had to turn it off because I just cannot stand Graham Souness to save my life. I honestly want a petition to get Graham Souness off my screen. I cannot stand him. I cannot stand what comes out of his mouth. I honestly can't. I mean, as a person, probably a lovely guy. What he says on TV, I just can't comprehend it. So I actually couldn't watch it. I mean, I just couldn't listen to what they were saying anyway. I was so kind of distraught about it. And he says, you talk about concentration levels at the start of the second half. I saw players in the tunnel coming out, smiling and laughing. He's correct on that. That wound me up. That really wound me up. In the tunnel in the second half, why are you coming out to Anfield smiling and laughing when you're 1-0 down? Surely you're fuming and want to go out there and prove that you can win this game. That frustrated me, and I didn't expect it from them players. I really didn't, especially at this point in the season where we've come from. That was unacceptable. Unacceptable in my opinion. Kelvin Jawa says, cheer up guys, the loss was painful but we're still getting top 4. The boys need to man up and win 10 games in a row. Glazers out. Regan says, I have an unpopular opinion. I believe we needed this to happen. We dropped our heads in the second half. We will learn from this attack from here on forward. And Izzo Magic says, who was smiling? I can't quite remember, but there was a lot of smiling and laughing going on in the tunnel before half-time, and it wound me up. It really, really did. And I thought, that didn't sit right with me, really didn't. I kind of was speaking to Adam at half-time. I thought, we're going to go back out. I predicted we'd go on and win that game 2-1, just because of the way that we've come back from things so far this season. I thought it was a different Man United. But then when I saw them smiling and laughing in the tunnel, that really didn't sit right with me going into a second half at Anfield. It didn't. I have to be honest about that. It really didn't. And he says, you talk about Roy Keane again. You talk about concentration levels at the start of the second half. Reading the same quote out again. He said, the senior players are the ones that let the club down today. I agree with that, but I also think every single player that stepped onto that pitch let the club down. You can't single out one. They were all poor. And he says, the players will be embarrassed and ashamed of their performance. When the going got tough, they went missing. I completely agree with that. When you go 2 goals down like that, you've got to show some sort of pride, fight, spirit. They didn't show any of that. And if I got beat 6-0, 7-0, I'd go into hiding. I'd go missing for a few months. It really is that embarrassing. It is, and Roy Keane again saying it how it is. It is embarrassing. And he actually had a little take on what he wanted to say about Bruno Fernandes as well. He was really kind of getting the topic of discussion yesterday. He says, Fernandes' body language today was nothing short of disgraceful. A really talented boy, he's your captain, but his body language, waving his arms, not running back, you won't be happy to have him in your dressing room. And again, I cannot excuse not running back. I can't excuse that. I can't excuse it ever, and I really wouldn't expect to see it from Bruno. He's ran through brick walls for this club all season. He non-stop runs every game, and I think he is an example of a captain of Manchester United. But again, yesterday it was unacceptable, and I can't avoid it. I can't avoid it. He's one of my favourite players, but it was unacceptable. But to end it on a little bit of a positive note from the quotes, Gary Neville says, I trust Erik ten Hag, and he believes in him. So Erik ten Hag believes in him. I'm not even going to read out, I'm not even going to read out there's a quote on here from Souness. Why is that on my screen? Why has that been put in there? I can't stand the guy. He says on MUFC's form over the last few months, they were getting away with it. Do one. You're still 7 points behind us, Liverpool. You've been a shambles all season. And I still think Liverpool will probably go, not the next game, because I think the next game they have Bournemouth. They're still going to get beat. I said it, you'll get beat next week. You'll get hammered off Real Madrid in the Champions League. I still don't think they're a good team. I really don't. I think that's how bad we were. And people laughing at me on my fan vlog for saying this. People laughing at me saying, not a good team, they beat you 7-0. Look at them this season. It's embarrassing to get beat 7-0 by that team. It's embarrassing. They're not that good. This season, they're not. In the past, they've been amazing. This season, you've seen how many mistakes that defence has in them. You've seen how bad that midfield has been. Like, that's why it hurts even more, because of how bad that team are, how bad that Liverpool team are compared to how they have been in the past. Ed4476 says, I feel like the players are being complacent. I mean, that's been thrown in there a lot as well, complacency. How can you be complacent, though, coming into Anfield? I don't think you can be. As a professional football player, how can you be complacent coming into Anfield? I don't think you can ever let that happen, ever. But I know we've been a little bit, not negative, we've been saying the truth. We've been saying the truth, and we've been getting into this, getting in discussion about this. But one thing I really want to put out there, what I think everyone should take on board, which I think a lot of people have been, we're still third in the Premier League. We've won the Carabao Cup. We're still in very good positions to get to the final in the FA Cup and the Europa League. We could potentially have 3 cups by the end of this season. If we didn't, if we still even have the Carabao Cup and we secure top 4, that is a very, very good season after the shambles that was last season. Last season, this Manchester United squad, bar, I think it's 5 players that we've brought in, and then the loanees, this Manchester United squad finished the worst ever points that we've ever finished on. Ever. Worst ever points at the end of last season. Erik ten Hag has come in and he's turned this around completely. There's going to be setbacks. It's not going to be a smooth ride. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be blips. And by blips, I didn't think it'd be a 7-0 hammering at Anfield. I really didn't. I don't know if you can call that a blip. But there is going to be setbacks. It's not going to be all hunky-dory overnight. It's not going to... Rome wasn't built in a day, as I would put out there. There's still no excuse for getting beat 7-0 at Anfield. There's still no excuse for going to the Etihad and getting beat 6-3. Like, there's just not. And I thought we had turned over that leaf. I really thought we did. I thought that wasn't ever going to happen again. It's happened. But we're still on for Champions League football next season. We're still in 2 other cup competitions, as well as having won the Carabao Cup. We've experienced lifting a trophy at Wembley after 6 years. We're probably going to go to Wembley again. We might be going to the final in Budapest. There's a lot to look forward to this season. There really is. We're still 7 points above Liverpool, and we should still finish above them. If we didn't, I'd absolutely be distraught. I still think we're going to get top 4 comfortably. If you would have said to me 3rd in the Premier League and a trophy at the start of this season, never mind potentially being in for another 2, I would have been over the moon. I wouldn't have believed you after what had happened last season. Erik ten Hag has worked wonders, and I think this is why it hurts more, because we expected so much. I thought we were going to go to Anfield and win yesterday. I really did. I still believed it at half-time because of what's happened this season. Erik ten Hag has done such a good job. You just don't think in a million years something like that can happen. You just don't think it would, ever. It kind of reverted back to when Hannibal went in and just crashed into a few players at Anfield last season, and we couldn't believe how incredible that was. That's where the standards were. We probably would have been the same about that yesterday. We could have done with Hannibal coming on yesterday and showing some sort of bite. We did revert back to old ways, we really did. But we can't let that define our season. There's still so much to look forward to, and this is why we've got to get behind the team. You've got to trust the process. Erik ten Hag is, for me, going to be one of the best managers in the world. He's already up there. He is the man that I believe can take Manchester United forward. I think he's going to win Premier Leagues with us in the future. I think he's going to win Champions Leagues with us in the future. This is how good I think this guy is. I really do. I love the man. I love him. I honestly do, for what he's done this season so far and what we've achieved. I've had brilliant nights this season. Brilliant nights. Last season I was nearly depressed going to Old Trafford every week. This season I've been driving up, so excited. So excited to go. We've had great times this season. We can't let this define our season, is what I would say. We just can't. And exactly, comments coming in with Ten Hag, we trust. Top 4 is guaranteed with 60 plus points. Yesterday was worse. Sorry, I can't. That doesn't make sense. And Ten Hag is just to his blame for the huge loss, says Dudley. I don't agree. Obviously, we were all in it together. And you've got to question what the team talk was at half-time. You really do. You've got to question why certain decisions were made. You've got to question why certain subs weren't made earlier. You've got to question these things. That guy did not coach a 7-0 loss. You just can't ever say that. You just can't say that. He did not coach a 7-0 loss. He just didn't. that was due to the players giving up. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. The captaincy vote is on, Casemiro's got 42%. Before we finish up the end of the show, I actually want to just do a poll on. I would like to do a poll on where do you think Manchester United will finish this season? So let's have that in the poll right now and we can all vote on that, because I still want to get some positivity. I think we're going to get third personally in the Premier League. So I just want to see where everyone else is at this morning on where we think Manchester United are going to finish in the Premier League this season. And also get in the comments down below, do you think Manchester United are going to win another cup? Do you expect us to win the FA Cup or the Europa League? I mean, we have Fulham on Sunday. We beat Fulham. We're at Wembley in the semi-final. I'm booking my train tickets down to London again. I mean, that's something you got to look forward to and get excited about. Like, there is stuff to get excited about. And I still, even though we got beat 7-0 off Liverpool, I still think we can beat City in a one-off game to win the FA Cup. Still think we can beat Arsenal in a one-off game to win the Europa League. And you know what? This might make teams underestimate us a little bit. And if it does, bring it on. Bring it on. I've seen people making compilations of Martinez already. I've seen people making compilations saying Man United's title race January to February 2023, you will be missed. Like, I've seen it. Underestimate us all you want. But I still believe Man United are back. And I still believe that Erik ten Hag is going to take us places. The United stand has just got a poll in the chat. Where will United finish in the league this season? Let's see what people are saying. So instantly, we've got 66% going for third. I mean, admin, why didn't we put first in the equation there? I'm joking. We were never good. There were title talks. The reason there had to be title talks is because points-wise, we were in the race. We were. But realistically, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen. It's just not. If you still believe, then fair enough to you. But it's just never going to happen. This team don't have the mentality to do it yet. We're just not there yet. We're not at that stage. We're really not. Jay Kadam says, this match still makes me angry. I cannot forgive Bruno and Anthony. They do not deserve to stay, let alone to be captain of the game. Jay, I have to tell you, if we didn't have Bruno Fernandes, we would be stuck. He is, I think, the first name on the team sheet for Erik ten Hag. I really do. He plays every single minute of every game. He's so important. You can't give up on a player just after one game. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Bruno is so important to this team. And I still think Anthony's a good signing. I still do. He had no support yesterday. Yes, his delivery was shocking. That's one thing he massively needs to work on. He does all the hard work, and then his end product, unless it's like a left foot curler into the bottom corner or top corner, his end product, when he's putting in crosses and passes, is shocking. I don't think I've seen a pass go to feet or go to anyone. His end product is awful, but there's so much potential there with him. I think people are being really, really harsh on these players when you look at him as an overall. I can be harsh on them after yesterday because it was a disgrace, but you can't just say after one game Anthony shouldn't be here. It's trying to scapegoat certain players, and I'm not having it. We can't scapegoat. That was a team performance. It really was. And his attitude was embarrassing yesterday, but we need to move on. And Augustine says, Anthony was poor, but so was everyone. And Anthony didn't track back at all yesterday, left Dalot high and dry. I don't know how it could have been a tactic, but it was weird because Anthony usually always tracks back and helps Dalot out. And it just wasn't happening. He just wasn't. He was leaving Dalot exposed. He was. Bruno wasn't tracking back and helping Shaw. And then fullbacks had a horrible time because what Liverpool did is they overloaded out their fullbacks onto us. They had Robertson and Nunes, and then they had Salah and Trent just overloading Dalot and Shaw, and we had no one back. But it was vice versa. Whenever Anthony got the ball in the up the pitch, he had three players around him, and Dalot was nowhere to be seen. We had no support going forward for the wingers either. There was just no support for anyone all over the pitch. It felt like Liverpool had more players than us, and that shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't. I agree that Aaron Wan-Bissaka seems to have chemistry with Anthony. I do think that. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka should have played. That's no disrespect onto Dalot. I just think it was a game more tailored for him. And maybe finally start considering Sabitzer. I'm surprised Sabitzer didn't get a look in yesterday. I really, really am. In hindsight, we probably should have packed the midfield with Casemiro, Bruno, Fred and Sabitzer. Looking back on it, I would have played Casemiro, I would have had Bruno, I would have had Fred and Sabitzer in the midfield, probably played Bruno on the right, Rashford on the left and Weghorst up front. That's how I would have probably gone about yesterday. I still don't know why Sancho isn't available to play. Apparently he's ill again. The guy's been ill about 15 times this year. And that's without his break. I mean, the break I can completely understand, but it's frustrating that players aren't available. Not to do with him, but anyway, that's what it was. And we'll finish on this vote. Well, Man United finished in the league this season. We've got the final vote being 64% third. Everyone thinks we're going to finish third, which is where we are now. I think we will, and I still have to say, I still think that's a fantastic season. But despite what was a horrible day for Manchester United fans, players, the club yesterday, it was a horrendous day. It was awful, it was disgraceful, it was embarrassing. Despite what that was, there's still so much to go for this season. This season can still be a brilliant season. You can't let that result define it. It really can't. I still believe we're going for the FA Cup. I still believe we're going for the Europa. Secure top 4, and it would be a brilliant season. We've already got a trophy behind us as well, under our belts. It's still going to be a great season, everyone. Make sure you get behind the players, get behind the manager. Trust this process, and let's keep going, and let's make sure that we do the business on Thursday night. We push forward in these cup competitions, and we put this behind us very, very swiftly. But thank you everyone for getting your comments in. Thanks for getting involved. Make sure you have a brilliant rest of your day. It'll be interesting to see what Ben Foster has to say on this. That's coming later on today as well. Make sure you give a like on the video, get your comments in down below. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day, everyone.